Shin splints absolutely suck. They are no fun. Let's talk about what they are, why you get them, 3 tips I have for them, and 2 exercises you can start doing today to help either not get them in the first place or start taking care of them if you already have them. Tip number 1 is to not get shin splints in the first place. Now, I know that sounds simple, but let me explain this. There are 3 subparts to this tip. So, as shin splints are an overuse injury, they happen when athletes do too much too soon and their shins are taking force that they are just not ready for. So, tip number 1 of tip 1 is to be smarter and more intentional about your on-ramping of training. So shin splints typically occur going from a period of not training to a period of training. So off season to preseason. So for example, just give yourself 2 more weeks to on-ramp your training as opposed to doing it all at once. Tip number 2 of tip 1 is to be conscious of the surface you are training on. So very hard surfaces like streets, concrete, asphalt, or a outdoor track, for example. If you're gonna run 2 miles outside, we'll do one mile on the turf inside the track and then do 1 mile on the hard track itself. And tip number 3 of tip 1 is if you feel anything, absolutely anything in your shins, take a step back. Limit volume where you can because the easiest way to keep shin splints away is to not get them in the first place. Tip number 2 is to improve your sprinting mechanics. If your mechanics are off, you are putting forces into your shins that they straight up should not be experiencing. And bad form can look like super toesy running, just stabbing and jamming your toes into the ground, or heel striking way in front of the body. And that doesn't allow your body to use its natural form and function and springs of the foot, the ankle, the calf, and the Achilles to help handle those landing forces. And on the flip side, good form looks like toes up in front of the body, striking on the balls of the feet, right underneath the hips. There are 2 exercises that I love to teach this up in front with the toes, striking underneath the hips mechanics. First is the banded A run in place. So by keeping that in place, they can really think about getting their toes up in front. And second, in order to create a counter force against the band, keeping the band tight and staying in place, not being pulled back, the athlete has to hit underneath their hips or else they're gonna lose their balance. Second is the dribble series. Super good for teaching that up and front down cycle action of upright top speed running. It can be as simple as ankle dribbles, and you can progress it as challenging as you want into a dribble bleed out into a sprint. Tip number 3 is to strengthen the anterior compartment of your shins, basically your tibialis anterior, which we call the anti-shin splint muscle, and it works positively in 2 ways. Number 1, when your foot prepares to strike the ground, it plantar flexes, your calf muscles turn on, your tibialis anterior, which does this, turns on to control this action. So it's not just your calf turning on and jamming your toe in the ground, it decelerates the plantar flexion so it strikes in a more controlled way. And second, when this muscle is turned on, it provides more stability to limit the vibration that happens when your foot strikes the ground. You can strengthen your tibialis anterior with 1 main exercise. These are called tib raises, reverse calf raises, whatever you want to call them. I have a balance beam here. You can use the edge of a stair in your house, whatever it may be. So only the back 1/3 of your foot on the balance beam, or just your heels basically. Toes as low as you can, pause. Toes up as high as you can, squeeze, squeeze and pause. Down, pause. Up, pause. After 2 or 3 reps, the front of your shin should be burning. Hitting this 2 sets of 10 reps, 3 to 4 times a week will get your shins strong and feeling just right.